Warm wishes to all. Hope all of you are doing well. Let's learn the concepts of database management systems. Simply, we can call it as DBMS. This presentation is based on second semester BSc Computer Science complementary syllabus of Calicut University. I'm covering Module 3 using this presentation. Myself, Jisha Jus Panakil of Sacred Heart College, Chalakude. This presentation is divided into 4 sections. In the first part, as part of introduction, we will discuss some definitions like database management system, and database system. We also discuss about the difference between file processing system and DBMS. We will also cover the characteristics and advantages of DBMS. In the next section, we will discuss about the structure of database system. And in the third section, we will discuss some more concepts on database system, including schemas, instances, and we will discuss the concept of data independence based on 3-schema architecture of database system. And in the last section, we will discuss about data models. And based on the syllabus, we have to learn only 3 data models like relational model, hierarchical model, and network model. Starting our presentation, kindly note one more thing. You may feel some slides are too crowded. I have kept it like that intentionally because you can utilize this as your lecture notes. So kindly cooperate with that. Let's start with the definition of database. A database is a collection of related data. Data means nothing but some known facts that can be recorded, and it should have some meaning. It must also have some more properties, like it should represent some aspects of real world, and it should be a collection of data with some meaning, and database is designed, built and populated for any purpose, and it must have some group of users and applications, and it can be of any size and varying complexity. It can be generated and maintained manually or computerized. Let us define what is database management system. In simpler words, a database management system is a collection of programs that enables users to create and maintain a database. But more specifically, we can define DBMS as a general purpose software system that facilitates 4 functions such as defining, constructing, manipulating, and sharing databases among various users and applications. Defining a database is a process that involves specifying the data types, structures, and constraints for the data to be stored in the database. Constructing the database is the process of storing the data itself on some storage medium. Then manipulating a database involves functions such as querying, updating, and generating reports from the data. Querying the database means retrieving specific data, and updating the database means we have to mention some changes in the mini world. Sharing a database allows multiple users and programs to access the database concurrently. We already discussed 4 major functions of DBMS. DBMS also provides some more functions like protection and maintenance. Protection includes both system protection and security protection. Security protection is against unauthorized or malicious access, and system protection is against hardware or software malfunctions. Maintenance. A typical large database may have a life cycle of many years. DBMS must be able to maintain the database system by allowing the system to evolve as requirements change over time. And let us define database system. The database and DBMS software together called as database system. Before the invention of DBMS, the data was stored in files Let us see what is the difference between the traditional file processing system and DBMS. In traditional system, each user defines and implements the files needed for specific software application as part of programming the application. It is having some disadvantages like data redundancy, isolation, and inconsistency. To overcome all these difficulties, a new software package has been developed, that is DBMS. In the database approach, a single repository of data is maintained, that is defined once, and can be utilized by many users. The main characteristics of database approach versus file processing approach include self-describing nature of a database system, insulation between programs and data abstraction, support of multiple views of data, and sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. Let's move on to a detailed explanation about the characteristics of DBMS. First one is self-describing nature of a database system. We will see what is the meaning of that. A fundamental characteristics of the database approach is that the database system contains not only the database itself but also a complete definition or description of the database structure and constraints. And these are stored in DBMS catalog. So DBMS catalog contains information such as structure of each file, the type and storage format of each data item, and various constraints on the data. The information stored in the catalog is called metadata. So what is a metadata? Metadata describes the structure of the database. Second one is insulation between programs and data abstraction. In traditional system, the structure of data files is embedded in the application programs. So any changes to the structure of a file will reflect all the programs that access the file. By contrast, DBMS access programs do not require such changes in most cases. This is achieved by a property called program data independence. The structure of data files is stored in the DBMS catalog separately from the access programs. And one more property is there, which is known as program operation independence. An operation is specified in two parts. The interface of an operation includes the operation name and the data types of its arguments. The implementation of the operation is specified separately and can be changed without affecting the interface. This is known as program operation independence. If the characteristics that allow both these, that is program data independence and program operation independence, we can call it as data abstraction. Next characteristics is DBMS support multiple views of the data. A database typically has many users, each of whom may require a different perspective or view of the database. We will discuss about the users in next section as part of structure of database system. A view may be a subset of the database, or it may contain virtual data that is derived from the database files but is not explicitly stored anywhere. Some users may not need to be aware of whether the data they refer is to be stored or derived. A multi-user DBMS whose users have a variety of distinct applications must provide facilities for defining multiple views. And the fourth characteristics of DBMS is sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. A multi-user DBMS allow multiple users to access the database at the same time. It is very essential if data for multiple applications is to be integrated and maintained in a single database. The DBMS must include a subsystem called concurrency control software to ensure several users trying to update the same data do so in a controlled manner so that the result of the updates is correct. This type of applications are generally called online transaction processing applications. A transaction is an executing program or process that includes one or more database accesses, such as reading or updating a database record. Let's see what are the advantages of using DBMS. The slide include only points, then later slides will discuss these points in detail. First one is controlling redundancy, second one restricting unauthorized access, and it will provide persistent storage for program objects, providing storage structures for efficient query processing. It will provide backup and recovery. It provides multiple user interfaces representing complex relationships among data, and it will enforce integrity constraints, permitting inferencing and actions using rules. And DBMS also provides some other advantages like potential for enforcing standards, reduced application development time, flexibility, availability of up-to-date information, and economies of scale. Let us discuss the advantages of DBMS in detail. The DBMS is not avoiding the redundancy, but it is used to control the redundancy. It is used for improving the performance of queries. So, what do you mean by redundancy? The redundancy in storing the same data multiple times leads to several problems. Like, there is a need to perform single logical update, such as entering data on a new student multiple times, once for each file where student data is recorded. This is known as duplication of effort. Second, storage space is wasted when the same data is stored repeatedly. And third problem is that files that represent the same data may become inconsistent. So DBMS provide an efficient method of storing the data by controlled redundancy and improving the performance of queries. And second advantage is that restricting unauthorized access. It is for security purpose. When multiple users share a large database, it is likely that most users will not be authorized to access all information in the database. Some may have read permission or some may have write permission, like that. A DBMS should provide a security and authorization subsystem which the DBA uses to create accounts and to specify account restrictions. Next one is providing persistent storage for program objects. This is regarding the object-oriented database model. Databases can be used to provide persistent storage for program objects and data structures. This is one of the main reasons for object-oriented database systems. Programming languages typically have complex data structures, and the DBMS allows to store these data structures permanently and can be reused. And next one is providing storage structures for efficient query processing. Database system provide capabilities for efficiently executing queries and updates. It is typically stored on disk, and the DBMS must provide specialized data structures to speed up disk search for the desired records. Auxiliary files called indexes are used for this purpose. The query processing and optimization module of the DBMS is responsible for doing this. DBMS use a backup and recovery subsystem for recovery. It provides a backup and recovery. DBMS provide facilities for recovering from hardware or software failures, and it provides multiple user interfaces. DBMS is having many type of users, including casual users, programmers, or we may have parametric users or standalone users. For all these users, DBMS provide different types of interfaces, both form-style interfaces and menu-driven interfaces, together called as graphical user interfaces. Then representing complex relationships among data. DBMS have the capability to represent a variety of complex relationships among data as well as to retrieve and update related data easily and efficiently. DBMS is used to enforce integrity constraints. Most database applications have certain integrity constraints that must hold for the data. A DBMS provides capabilities for defining and enforcing these constraints. Simplest type of integrity constraint involves specifying a data type for each data item. DBMS also permit inferencing and actions using rules. These are based on deductive and active database systems. Some database systems provide capabilities for defining deduction rules for inferencing new information from the stored database facts. Such systems are called deductive database systems. More powerful functionality is provided by active database systems provide active rules that can automatically initiate actions when certain events and conditions occur. And this is the end of section 1. First section is over. Next we will discuss about the structure of database system. This figure shows the structure of database system. We already discussed about database system. Database and database software together called as database system. It is having two functional components, query processor and storage manager, and there are users, different types of users who are interacting with this database system, and usually we are storing the database in disk. So it also shows how the disk storage is represented. You have to depict this figure when a question arises based on database system structure. Let us discuss the structure of database system and what are the components of this structure in detail. We have different users of database system, including database administrators, database designers, system analysts or application programmers, which also referred as software engineers, and we have some end users. We will discuss each and every one in detail. What do you mean by a database administrator? Database administrators are also known as DBA, who are responsible for authorizing access to database and coordinating and monitoring its use, and for acquiring software and hardware resources as needed. DBA is also responsible for problems such as breach of security or poor system response time. Database designers are responsible for identifying the data to be stored in the database and for choosing appropriate structures to represent and store this data. System analysts or application programs determine the requirements of end users. We will discuss different types of end users in the coming slides. And application programmers implement these specifications as programs. Then they test, debug, document and maintain these transactions. Such analysts and programmers commonly referred to as software engineers. Let's see who are the end users of database system. We have casual users, naive users, sophisticated users and standalone users. What do you mean by casual users? As the name suggests, they are users occasionally access the database but may need different information each time. Middle or high level managers or other occasional browsers are coming under this category. Naive users, also known as parametric users, revolve around constantly querying and updating the database. They use standard types of queries and updates, and we can call such transactions as canned transactions that have been carefully programmed and tested. Example for naive users include clerical staff at airline or railway reservation system. Sophisticated users are specialized users including engineers, scientists, business analysts, and who thoroughly familiarize themselves with the facilities of DBMS. so as to implement their applications to meet their complex requirements. Standalone users are are users who maintain personal databases by using ready-made program packages that provide easy-to-use menu-based or graphics-based interfaces. Example is user of a tax package that stores a variety of personal financial data for tax purposes. As we discussed earlier, the database system structure include two functional components, and first one is storage manager. We all know that databases are large, require very large amount of storage space. Thus, it utilizes secondary storage devices such as disks. The storage manager subsystem of DBMS effectively manage the storage requirements by minimizing the movement of data between primary memory and disk. It acts as an interface between low-level data stored in database and the application programs and queries submitted to the system. The storage manager is responsible for storing, retrieving, and updating data in the database. The components of storage manager include authorization and integrity manager, transaction manager, file manager, and buffer manager. The other functional component of database system structure is query processor. Query processor helps the users to access the data in an efficient manner. It provides an abstraction by hiding the physical implementation details with the users. The database system translates, updates, and queries written in any non-procedural language, usually the logical level, into an efficient sequence of operations at physical level. The components of query processor include DDL interpreter, DML compiler, and query evaluation engine. DDL is data definition language and DML is data manipulation language. These are two types of query languages to define a database and to manipulate the database respectively. We will discuss these languages in detail in fourth module. The other important component of database system structure is disk storage. We already discussed about these points. We are storing the large database in secondary storage devices such as disk. You can mention some points of secondary storage devices as we have already studied, and you can mention what are the different types of data we are storing in database. Data itself, and we have metadata, indices. Mention all these points as per the marks. Now we are moving on to the third topic, which includes some more concepts on database system, and we are going to discuss about the three schema architecture of DBMS. Let's define database schema. The description of a database in any data model is called the database schema. We will discuss different types of data model in next section. For example, we are seeing a college database with minimum details. We have only two tables, student and course. Student is described using name, student number, class, major, and course is described using course name, course number, credit hours, and department. If we represent a database like this, we can call it as a schema. A display schema is called a schema diagram. We call each object in the schema, such as student or course, we can call it as schema constructs. By specifying the schema, we have only the structure and we have to insert some data into the database. And let's see what is a database state or instances, or we can call it as snapshot. The data in the database at a particular moment in time is called database state or instance. It is also called the current set of occurrences or snapshot. For example, in a college database, if we have two records of student type like Ashish and Shika, we have the And in course details we have three records. Um, One is for applied science, applied physics database, and the third thing is nanotechnology. And we have all this data inside the database at a particular moment in time. So we call this as the database state or instance. This figure shows the three schema architecture of DBMS. We have internal level, conceptual level, and external level. In each of these three levels, we have different types of schemas: internal schema, conceptual schema, and external schema. Internal schema is directly connected with the store database, and external schema is directly used by end users. And in between we have the conceptual schema. We will discuss each and every one in detail in the coming slides. Schemas are defined at following three levels. These are used to separate the user applications and the physical database. The internal level has internal schema, which describes the physical storage structure of the database. It uses a physical data model and describes the complete details of data storage and access paths for the database. The conceptual level has a conceptual schema, which is used to describe the structure of the whole database to a community of users. The conceptual schema hides the details of physical storage structures and concentrates on describing entities, data types, relationships, operations, and constraints. The external or view level includes a number of external schemas or user views. Each external schema describes, as part of the database, that a particular user group is interested in and hides the rest of the database from that group. Let us define the data independence based on the three schema architecture. Before that, we have to see what is mapping. The processes of transforming requests and results between levels are called mappings. The capacity to change the schema at one level of a database system without having to change the schema at the higher level is referred to as data independence. We have to change only the mappings. There are two types of data independence: logical data independence and physical data independence. Logical data independence is the capacity to change the conceptual schema without having to change its external schema or application programs. Physical data independence is the capacity to change the internal schema without affecting its higher levels, that are conceptual schema and external schema. Now we are moving on to the last topic of this module, data models. What is a data model? A data model is a collection of concepts that can be used to describe the structure of a database. By structure of a database, it means that we have data types, relationships, constraints that should hold for the data have to be mentioned. Most data models include a set of basic operations for specifying retrievals and updates on the database. We can categorize the data models into three major groups. One is high-level or conceptual data models, and we have representational or implementation data models, and low-level or physical data models. High-level or conceptual data models provide concepts that are close to the way many users perceive data. We can say ER model is an example for high-level data model, which is entity relationship model, one of the most popular high-level model. Second one is representational or implementation data model, which provide concepts that may be understood by end users, but that are not too far removed from the way data is organized within the computer. It hides some details of data storage but can be implemented on a computer system in a direct way. We will discuss the representation data models like relational model, hierarchical model, and network model in detail in further slides. Low-level or physical data models provide concepts that describe the details of how data is stored in the computer. Concepts provided by these models are generally meant for computer specialists, not for typical end users. So we are moving on to representation data models. Representation data models represent data by using record structures, and therefore this type of models are also called as record-based data models. Record-based data models or representation models include relational model, network model, hierarchical model, object data model, etc. As per the syllabus, we have to learn relational, network and hierarchical model. So we are moving on to relational model. This is one of the most popular database model which is still used in many applications. It consists of a collection of tables which is referred as relations, each of which is assigned a unique name. A row in a relation is called tuple, which represent a relationship among a set of values. Each column header is called attribute. The data type describing the types of values in each attribute is represented as domain of that attribute. Next one is hierarchical model. This is one of the oldest database models used by enterprises. It uses two data structures, records called segments and parent-child relationships, also referred as PCR. A record is collection of field values that provide information on an entity. Records of the same type are grouped into record types. This model uses a tree structure to represent PCR of 1 to n, that is 1 to many relationship between two record types. An occurrence or instance of the PCR type consists of one record of the parent type and a number of records of the child record type. Next one is network model. This model is formalized by database task group of the Conference Data System Language. In short, we can call it as DBTG or CADASL. It uses two data structures to represent databases, entities, and relationship among these entities, namely records and sets. So we will see what is a record type and set type. Record types. Data is stored in records. Each record consists of a group of related data values. Records are classified into record types. Each record type describes the structure of a group of records that store the same type of information. Thus, a record type is used to represent an entity type. Example, supplier with attributes supplier ID and supplier name. Here, supplier is a record type, or we can call it as entity, and SID, SNAME are data items or attributes. Note, in the given figure, it represents two record types, supplier and product. We will see the figure in the next slide. The figure shows an example of a network database. We have two record types, supplier and product, and we have two occurrences of supplier, 1 and 2, and we have three occurrences of product, 1, 2 and 3. And next one is set type. To represent a relationship between records, the network provides a modeling construct called set type. A set is used to represent a direct relationship between two record types, namely owner record type and member record types. It is also one-to-many relationship, consists of one owner record type and many member record types. We will see the figure in next slide. Here there are some examples for set type. Here department having student. Here one department is having many students. It can be represented in network model. And another example is father is having many children. This figure shows the owner record is having many members, and each one is showing the set occurrence. The network model can be implemented using linked list. In this one-to-many relationships of a set is represented by linking the members of a set type to the owner record type. Pointers or links are used for representing set occurrences. Thank you all. Study well. Stay home. Stay safe.